Nation. The hobby is the people. Weekly news and interviews. It's your number one source. Sports Card Nation. The hobby is the people. Sports Card Nation.
Here's a gentleman who's a fierce advocate and ambassador for this great hobby. He has his finger on the pulse of the hobby. However, his voice is nowhere smooth as mine. But he does try. Here is John Newman.
What is up? Welcome to episode 249. Got a great show on tap for you today. Mike C., a.k.a. Junk Wax Hero from YouTube. Also my partner, one of my partners of many on Hobby Hotline. Happy to have him there. We're going to talk about his YouTube channel, his new show with Chris Sewall, and, you know, why he started a YouTube channel, how he does it, why he does it, what he does. He does the Attic Find Friday, writing a book. He's in the process of writing a book. So this guy is very, very busy. Got to hang out with him a little bit in Chicago at the National. We're going to talk about that as well. And just a busy guy. Glad he made some time. And, we're going to cover some hobby ground. So we'll keep the intro short and sweet. And let's get this show underway.
Time for our Hobby is the People Announcer of the Week.
Hey, it's Chris Carlin, formerly from Upper Deck, now with Collectors. Remember, the hobby is the people.
If you'd like to be the Hobby is the People Announcer of the Week, do a WAV or MP3 file and send it to sportscardnationpc@gmail.com.
Hi, this is Pat Hughes, Cubs announcer, coming to you from the Sports Card Shop in beautiful New Buffalo, Michigan. The Gocher family has built an incredible place here for collectors to buy, sell, and trade cards and memorabilia. Be sure to stop by and let them show you around. TheSportsCardShop.com, connecting sports, athletes, the hobby, and collectors around the world.
Hi. This is Alan Pinkett, and I'm here to tell you the Gocher family has done it again. They've just opened up the Sport Card Shop in downtown Valparaiso, Indiana, and it is awesome. If you're a collector, you need to check this place out. Tell them Alan sent you and get a free gift on your first visit.
Are you a new sports cards collector or someone returning to the hobby? Maybe you're just looking for a friendly, trustworthy hobby community to hang out with and enjoy collecting. Midwest Box Breaks has been bringing collectors together for many years with affordable breaks, helpful threads, and a Discord group packed with generous people who genuinely care about the hobby and other collectors. Check out the breaks at MidwestBoxBreaks.com. Our goal is to bring you as much value as possible. Also, find us on Twitter at MidwestBoxBreaks.
Also, remember to check out Midwest Box Breaks Marketplace for breaks, packs, and single cards from over 300 trusted sellers. Apply to sell today at iso.gg/Midwest Box Breaks. Excited to have this next gentleman on the Sports Card Nation podcast, on the Sports Card Shop guest line for the first time. Somehow he's a Hobby Hotline teammate and big on YouTube, something I'm not. So definitely might pick his brain there and find out what the secret sauce is. But Junk Wax Hero, Mike C., welcome to Sports Card Nation.
Thanks, John. I'm excited to be here. I feel like I've made it, and I love the intro. The intro is awesome.
Yeah, and then it's all, I tell everyone else that says that, then it's all downhill after that. So I'm glad you like the intro, and that's the pinnacle, and then we're gonna talk. But I kid, and I appreciate that. And you have a YouTube show. You do a lot of different things. You do your attic finds. I think it's on Fridays. Just kind of, you're established now. I believe you're well over 6,000 subscribers. Talk about the growth. I've done that sort of, not 6,000 down, but the podcast, the audio version, I built up from a slow start. I'm here 5 years, so it's not an overnight thing necessarily, but kind of talk about how your channel grew and maybe not give out all the secrets out, but just some of the reasons you feel for your personal success.
Yeah, no secrets. I'm happy to share whatever anybody wants to know about it. But I started about 2 years ago, just 2 years ago in July, and it was slow, man. It takes time to build up an audience. I remember getting to 50 subscribers, and I was like, yes, and then 60. I was celebrating every 10, and it's hard. And I hit 1,000 subscribers after 11 months, and I thought, man, this is awesome. I might make $30 a month from this YouTube channel, which would be fantastic. And then, I had over the next 6 months, I had continued that slow growth a little bit faster, but it was slow still. And then I did an attic find, and it happened to be on a Friday, and I branded it as Attic Find Fridays, and it took off. And I think I got noticed. I was able to bring on Chris Sewall, sports card collector, investor, dealer, in that order, as an interview guest, and that helped a lot too. And I brought on Ty from Chasing Cardboard to interview him, and that helped a lot. And I did little segments. I focus on stories and collectors. I'm not big on the news, although I do a Sunday morning news segment. But I did like collectors' rooms, which got 25,000 views in a few days, and that brings in several hundred new subscribers. So I went, at the end of the year, I had 2,500 subscribers. This was 9 months ago, and within 3 or 4 months, I had doubled it to 5,000. And since then, since April, it has slowed significantly, but it's been still awesome, exciting, and I'm trying not to change the collectors, the stories. That's what I really want to focus on. That's what excites me. And one thing that I found in April, I was pushing really hard, and I got 105,000 views in April because I did a lot of videos, and I wanted to get like high value videos out in April. And I started doing videos that I wasn't excited about. I just thought, this is going to get a lot of views. And I didn't enjoy them, and it just wasn't a good feeling. And so I've stepped it back, and I only do videos that excite me, or that I'm really interested in, or that really just focus on the collector or the stories. Or I do occasionally do news type things, but it's pretty rare. It has to be something that really interests me. And the Sunday morning news videos that I do are only topics that really interest me. So I'm not going to focus on the Panini versus Fanatics lawsuits. That doesn't, it interests me. I'll watch a video about it so I know what's going on, but I'm not going to talk about it on my channel unless there's some sort of interesting nugget in there. But the secret sauce, I guess, is just consistency. It's just I've put out a minimum of 3 videos a week for 2 years, and YouTube, the algorithm loves the consistency. I try to put out a decent thumbnail. I spend maybe 3 minutes on each of my thumbnails. They're getting better, but they're still not great. But yeah, I think if you're having fun and you're doing things that you enjoy, talking about topics that you enjoy, the audience responds well to that. And I don't know. I think that if I'm not having fun, then why do it?
It's funny hearing you say that, Mike. I think you hit the nail right on the head. Sometimes I do Q&A episodes on my other show, Hobby Quick Hits, which is a shorter show. One of the questions I got from a listener, he asked me, how will you know when you're like done podcasting? What would be that sign to you? And you actually said it. To me, it won't have anything to do with less downloads or anything like that. It's when this becomes more of a chore or a job than fun or a passion. And so if I ever turn the mic on and I feel like, oh man, I'd rather be doing something else, or I'm going to be going through the motions on this one, that's my sign. And hearing you say what you did, I mean, it just rang that bell. And even like knowing I was going to talk to you tonight for this show, right? I always say I'm excited, but that's not even lip service. But if I ever have an interview and I feel like, man, I don't even want to do this, that's never happened yet. But if that day comes, those are the kind of signs to me, like I'm not just going to go through the motions and be phony or disingenuous. And that's another thing that you said that I agree wholeheartedly, right? Is you want to do stuff that you find interesting and you're passionate about. Otherwise, you're, again, kind of going through the motions. And, with your success, do you find, I mean, there's so many shows out there, things are going to be similar, but have you found like maybe people try to sort of replicate or have kind of taken something you've done and tried to do it too, or not necessarily?
I don't think so. And somebody once fairly recently gave me credit for adding images to stories. I stole that from somebody else. So I think everybody should steal shamelessly, as long as it's not like copyrighted or anything like that. Just little ideas. I took things from other people, and I'm happy if somebody wants to try to take the same things from me. If you want to try to replicate my storytelling style or whatever else, I'd be flattered. If you can do it better than me, I love that. I've passed jobs off to other people. I've trained other people to take my jobs on, and when they do my job better than I was doing it before, I love that. So I think it's great.
Yeah, and there's just, as you know, there's so much content creation out there between YouTube, people who just do audio only, and that people just do live stuff only. Maybe it's almost impossible to, not even not intentionally, but something's probably been done. You're not necessarily creating the wheel all over again, but your style and how you deliver it, that's where the personalization comes in, with success, right? I'm very blessed that this show is done well, but we both know, right, with that territory, you can't win the whole room, you can't please everybody. You've gotten emails or messages, I've gotten it where, hey, I'm not listening no more, but or this or that sort of thing. What I guess, I like feedback, and I say on this very show, right? Let me know what you like or don't like. That's how we get better. Even if you like something, let me know. Then there's segments I've done on the show that aren't being done anymore because enough people said, I know where you were trying to go, John. It doesn't really get there. And there are other segments that are still around because enough people said, we like that. I'm sure you get your share of that. How do you deal with, obviously, I think we both, not to be cocky, but I think we both get probably more good messages than bad, and that's always a good thing. But what's your take when you get something on the negative side? How do you view it? How do you deal with that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I probably went a good year into my YouTube journey before I got anything negative because I didn't have much of a following. So I had a full year of positive comments to build that base of confidence. And as I've grown, I've collected, let's say, a handful of haters. And like you said, I'm very open to constructive feedback. People have told me I needed a microphone. People have told me I needed better lighting. And those are things that make me better. And people have told me I've made mistakes on stories or histories of cards. And I love being told that. That helps me learn. And then I can go back and say, hey, last week on this video, I made this mistake. And here's the truth. And thank you to so-and-so for telling me that. But if you just tell me I'm an idiot, and which is right, you can say that. And I've never blocked a comment or I've never deleted a comment. But if you say that, like I think that oftentimes says more about you, the viewer, than it does about me, because you've provided me with zero constructive feedback. And I'll give you an example. I did the only non-card related video I've ever done was about the Hall of Fame and Jack Morris and why I don't think Jack Morris deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And it was fun. And I got more hate from that video than any video I have ever done. People were so mad about it, about Jack Morris. It was so bizarre. And one thing I always say to my kids.
Well, that was probably Jack Morris's family. He probably has a large family, and they all, they got on the horn and watch this video. This guy Mike is telling, he don't think Dad should be in the hall.
Yeah.
And that I think, but I'm kidding. But go.
One thing I say to my kids are older now, but I've always said when they get bullied or somebody's mean to them at school, I would say, it really says more about them than it does about you. And here's how you should handle it. And I try to turn that feedback onto myself. And if somebody just says something cruel, I try to ignore it. Sometimes I might respond, thanks for watching. But oftentimes I just ignore it. Try to understand what that person might be going through to say something like that. For instance, another example on Bench Clear Media, on Hobby Think Tank, I don't remember who, I think I might have been with John Keating one episode, and we were talking about the NBA rankings, the top 5 players of all time. And I'm not going to say it now because I don't want anybody to unsubscribe from you, John, but people unsubscribed from Bench Clear Media over my top 5 list of all time. And they were so mad. They commented, "This bleeping idiot, I can't believe this guy thinks this person is number 3 of all time. I'm unsubscribing and never watching either of you again."
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, man. People are intense, I guess, is the word. There's passionate, and then there's probably the bad part past that, maybe intense or a little bit, probably irrational. And you're right. You said something like, it's what, if someone says you suck, John, you know what I mean? Well, tell me in what way so I can fix that. Just saying those 2 words, you suck, like you said, it really speaks a little bit more about them. Maybe there's things are not going well in their own life. And again, I don't want to paint with a broad brush. Everyone's different, but everyone's entitled to their opinion, Mike, as you know. But give me tell me why, and I'm not saying I'll do everything you say, but at least I know why you feel that way. And we can at least try maybe to make some things better. And I've had people say, you talked about lighting. I've had people say, just turn all your lights off, John, so we don't see you. We just hear you. So I didn't really listen, but it is a little darker in here for those folks. But I kid. But all joking aside, I have used that constructive feedback. I have listened when someone says, "Hey, I'm not particularly fond of this or a fan of that." I want that, if ever, and listen, I like you or anyone else, we love compliments. I don't know too many people who don't, but if that's all you get, I guess that's good. But I'm always trying to improve, whether it be podcasting, in my real job as a TA or whatever, as a husband, as a dad, as you are, right? No one's mastered any of that yet. So there's always room for improvement. And so, if someone can tell me something constructive that I can do something with, I'm open to it. Just saying I hate you or, go jump off a bridge, that's not going to help the show get better. Like you said, I too believe it's more of an indictment on the sender. Maybe 9 times out of 10, every situation is different. But I always had a show, let me know what you think, good and bad. And, I do always usually respond in some way to any kind of email or correspondence I get. It's like a pet peeve of mine. I don't like when someone else doesn't respond. So I make it even some of those negative ones that I've gotten, I've had different responses depending on what was said to me, but I've always tried to respond and, at least let people know, hey, you may not like me, but you can't say I didn't respond and give you time. You know what I mean? And that sort of thing.
I respond to almost every comment and definitely every email I've ever received, but there are the occasional comments that I can't respond to because it's just gonna stir them up.
Yeah, especially if they're making it personal, and they're just not rational, right? You're gonna try to have a rational conversation back, and it's just by the first message that you're not going to get one back, even with you being rational. I get what you're saying, and sometimes it's like a beehive. You just don't poke it and stir it up and let it be and on to the next. And so I fully understand that. So I've done that too. I'm more apt to say something. I like to kill with kindness. So I like to, someone is maybe not so nice, and I just try to be nice back and have them scratch their head and say, man, I was just rude to this guy, and he sent this message back, and make it. I'm not saying they can't still be rude, but at least makes them scratch their head and say, hey, man, this guy could have sent a whole different response back, and he didn't. But there have been one or two occasions where, like I just let it go because what I had typed out after proofreading it before hitting that send button, it wouldn't have been good. And I'm like, I'm just not going to even send them.
You're familiar with Bill Simmons of ESPN, formerly of ESPN, now The Ringer.
Yeah, The Ringer.
He started his career on AOL's Digital Underground in the 1990s, and I started reading him right away. He was so good and so different from other sports writers, and he wasn't an official sports writer. And I read him for a long time, 10 plus years, followed him to ESPN, where he was on ESPN2, not ESPN2, but something page. I can't remember what it was called. And after a while, I felt like his writing got bad. And I decided, I was young, I was in my 20s, and I sent him an email. I still remember this so vividly. It was 15 plus years ago. I sent him an email, and the subject line was, "The precipitous decline of the quality of your writing." And I wrote, "Bill, I've been reading you for over a decade, and I can't help but tell you that your writing has gone downhill so fast." And it was pretty mean. In retrospect, it wasn't like mean, but why would I send that to him? What's the purpose of it? But his response has stuck with me forever. And he responded back to me personally and said, "Mike, it's people like you who stuck with me from the very beginning that made me who I am now, and I can't thank you enough for reading me for all those years. I'm sorry that my writing isn't for you anymore, but I understand." And I was like, why would I say that to him? That was such a great response from him.
Yeah, I might have to steal that. But no, it is. He kind of gave it credit for, hey, I wouldn't be here, the 10 years you gave me and others is why I'm here. I'm sorry, and it made you probably scratch your head and say, man, I kind of feel a little bit bad, or maybe I could have worded that a little bit. Let me ask you this. You don't have to say what you said. Did you respond back to his response?
No.
You let it go. There. Yeah. But you know what? There's a perfect example, right? And, I try to, I go to the school of thought where treat people like you want to be treated. Sometimes I'm probably better at it some days than others. And maybe the days I'm not as good at it's the days where I just don't send what I was going to, send. And I just, like you said, you can't respond. There's some things that just, if they're not rational, the response is just going to add fuel to the fire. And as we both know, that stuff can eat your time up, and it's not productive time at that. So I get it.
Time to hear from one of our great sponsors, but Sports Card Nation will be right back after that.
Iron Sports Cards is your #1 source for all your PSA and other grading submissions. Their elite status improves turnaround times. Heck, they even provide the card savers. Their chat rooms provide updates on all your submissions. They also offer wax options and single cards to cover all the bases. Check them out on Facebook at Iron Sports Cards Group or on the web at ironsportscards.com, or even give them a call at 1-877-IRON-PSA. Rob's got you covered.
For more than 30 years, Robert Edward Auctions has been the nation's premier auction house, specializing in sports memorabilia and trading cards. With significant experience and expertise in all major sport, non-sport, and Americana collectibles, REA has helped clients achieve record-breaking prices for their items and has done so with a reputation for integrity and transparency. By actively partnering with collectors and enthusiasts throughout the entire process, REA has created the hobby's most trusted forum for selling high-quality collectibles. Go to robertedwardauctions.com for more information on how to buy or sell in their next auction.
Let's go! You are listening to the Sports Card Nation podcast.
The National wasn't that far away. You're second. I think it was my fifth. Kind of your thoughts, now 6-7 weeks out from it, what you thought, and, maybe improvements, what you enjoyed, maybe what they could do better as we, count the days down now to Cleveland.
Yeah, well, everybody's talked about the Heat, so I'm not going to talk about that except just that little mention. But I loved the National. I loved it this year. I loved it last year in Atlantic City. I thought that Atlantic City was a little better in some ways. There was more room to move around. It was pretty tight quarters in Chicago. But I think it's just such an amazing show. I hope it continues to be. I think they have new ownership next year, and under new ownership comes changes in my experience. But you see things you never thought you would see. You see cards you've never heard of before. You see things and you think, I've got to start collecting that now. And then you get in trouble for some new collection you start. But, I just stopped at all of the big auction house booths to look at the bonkers cards they had on display, the multi-million-dollar cards they're showing, and the unique items. I bought plenty of cards too, but it's like going to a museum. And you see collections of things like this one guy who's also a YouTuber and probably follows you like he follows me, who had this awesome Japanese baseball card table. And that's what he focused on, was Japanese baseball cards. And that's stuff you're not going to find at a Portland, Maine card show. I don't know. I had a blast. I learned a lot. Plus the people, you meet a lot of people, you talk to a lot of people. It's such a great time to me. And I heard a lot of people complaining about it. I don't know. It was hot in the afternoons, but I don't know. I disagreed with a lot of the complaints about it.
No, you hit it right on the head. It is, if I always say every year, Mike, if you go to the National and you don't have fun, I don't know what you're doing wrong. Like, tell me what happened, because obviously if something really terrible happened, you lost your cards or they got stolen, that's a bad experience. But other than something, terrible like that, you went to the National and just didn't enjoy yourself. I don't know, again, what you did wrong. The Heat was bad on Thursday. I thought after Thursday it improved. And I think I'm not an HVAC guy. I don't want to pretend to be. I almost felt like Thursday, like the compressor broke. And I almost felt like the days after that they had replaced the part. And it was kicking in again. Go ahead.
Well, a bunch of dealers were saying that they had all the garage doors open to allow dealers to bring in their cards. I don't remember if that was Wednesday or Thursday. And they said that the heat, it was very, very hot in Chicago, and the heat was just pouring in through those massive garage doors.
Yeah, and that could be very well the case. It was hot. I know there were a few people reportedly had to needed medical attention because of said heat. So it was hot enough to cause a few medical issues. It's probably worthy enough to at least mention, definitely in passing. Another point you mentioned, Atlantic City was, the way it was set up, it was more rectangular, and there was a lot more open spaces. I agree with you 100%. I will say this, though, as someone who went to the Chicago National before the expansion that was this year of, I believe, 200,000 square feet, it was more open this year. But you're right, it was tighter than Atlantic City, Mike. I agree with you there. You would have really, if you went to the National that was at the Chicago before this year's, you would have really been complaining, because that was like elbow to elbow sort of boxing out. I remember talking about it. Like, it was tough to get like showcase time in front of. It felt like it was playing pickup basketball, where I had to like get under the rim before someone else and then hold my position. And, there's no fouls, right? It was just kind of, you call your own, but no one wants to do that. It was tight. I will say they improved on that. Maybe they can improve some more. I think a lot of it too, I'm going to sound like I'm defending them a little bit here. Maybe I am. Just the way they're like rooms upon rooms. If you look at the floor plan, where Atlantic City is one kind of rectangle, these are like 3, 4. You got like the breakers section. You got the corporate section. It wasn't in one sort of rectangle, and I think that caused a little bit of issues with. I've heard other people complain about that it was still kind of tight, and I get it, and they broke the record apparently with attendance, so I'm sure that the most people ever, at least that's what they're saying. They don't release official numbers, so we have to take their word for it, but I'm sure that was a factor, and you kind of make the best of it, and you got to be there more than a couple of days. When I hear someone is there a couple of days, I don't know how you even form a plan of attack to really cover everything. I think I get it. 1 or 2 days is better than no days, but for me, even being there 5 days, Mike, for me, I know I didn't see everything. I see someone else post a picture, and I'm like, where was that? I never saw that, so I know I didn't cover everything.
That's another thing too, is that it's really difficult to find certain tables, certain booths. Like, I had a guy tell me, I'm in booth 1655, come on by, and it was tough in Chicago to find them. There were some booths you had aisles that were numbered up and down, but there were some areas where it was like, where even are the 1600s? So I'm making up the number here, but how do I even get to that? And there's no floor plan that I knew of. There's no map. And I walked around for a long time trying to find a certain booth. And I would be where I felt like I was in the certain area. And I'd be like, hey, is this where I'd find booth 1655? And they'd be like, well, I don't know. Well, what booth are you? Well, I don't know. Well, how do you not know what booth they are in? So
I'm in Chicago. Actually, I'm in Rosemont. I'm not even really in.
That's right.
But no, you're right. I will say this: the Chicago National, out of the 4 or 5 I've been to, I get lost every time. Like, when I say lost, like, hey, where's the exit? It's time to go. How do I get out of here? Or like you said, if you're meet me at this booth or whatever. Like, it's sometimes hard to find. Like, unless it's like a corporate booth where you look for the big, SGC or ComC.
Yeah.
If it doesn't have a big hanging, chandelier banner, it could be tricky to find. And you just walk, you walk around for 5 minutes and you kind of lose your bearings. Like, hey, I kind of knew what it looked like when I was standing over there. Now I'm over here, and I'm like, I'm lost again. So it's really easy to get disorientated. I guess that's rather than lost, maybe disorientated is a better. I'm not lost. I'm in the right place, but I just don't know. I'm not exactly where I want to be in the right place. So
yeah. Well, Danny Black texted me and said, "Hey, I'm at the entry. Come up here for a minute." And I couldn't find my way back to the entry.
Yeah,
the entrance. I walked around and around, and he's like, dude, where are you? And I'm like, I don't know where I am. How do I know?
Oh yeah, it happened to me too. It's like, are you coming? Are you free? I'm like, dude, I think I'm on my way there. Don't wait up. Apparently, save yourself. I might not get out of here. But it was easy to get, just the way the floor plan is, and it's sort of not a perfect rectangle as Atlantic City was more. Atlantic City was easy to navigate. I had fun in Atlantic City too. I know a lot of people don't like the city itself or maybe the neighborhood around the convention center, but I'm not there for that. I'm there, sleep in my room, wake up, go to the show, go to dinner, go back to the hotel, take a shower, watch some TV, sleep again, rinse and repeat, and come back to the show. So, I get it, but it does. Again, I think I speak for you here too. It's nice to be able to drive to a location as Atlantic City is. For me, Cleveland will be that next year. Cleveland, but I didn't really realize this till I kind of did the math on it. Cleveland is closer to Atlantic City to me than Atlantic City is. I would have guessed without really fact checking. I would have lost my own bet. I would have thought Atlantic City was, but Atlantic City is like 5 hours and 20 minutes drive, and Cleveland's actually 5 hours and 5 minutes. So it's 15 minutes, wins the race by 15 minutes. My plan's to go a day earlier and check out I'm a big music guy, so check out the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which I've never been to. So I'll check that off the bucket list. So I'll be there a day earlier and then get ready for another year, another national. I've never been to Cleveland, period. So it'll be interesting to see what the layout there. And, used to be done in Cleveland quite a bit. And then the convention center actually closed and now it's reopened. So it'll be interesting to, I've been to Chicago. I've been to Atlantic City. Those are the only two venues for the National that I've been to. It'll be interesting to see Cleveland's version of the event as someone who, I know others have been to it before. People say it's pretty good, but I haven't been to one yet. So I'll have to give my verdict, about a year from now, a little less than a year from now. So it'll be interesting to see. All right, enough about the National. They're not give. Well, they do give us free tickets, but even so, let's talk about
free tickets.
Well, you got to sign up you got to get your media, but you could. So there's the trick. You got a new show coming out. You mentioned Chris Sewall. You got a new kind of a new show. I'll let you explain it. It's your show. For those that don't know yet, kind of fill in the blanks for those folks there.
Yeah, so Chris Sewall is obviously a much, much better and more successful YouTuber than I am about sports cards. He knows a lot more about them. And I've watched hundreds and hundreds of his videos, and just I think he's awesome. And so I brought him on and we had this great conversation. We ended up talking for a long time afterwards, and then we emailed, and then we started texting, and we just have a lot of views in common about baseball. I think I'm only a year older than him, so we grew up on the same baseball. We have the same views on baseball and have very similar Hall of Fame beliefs and a similar obsession with Hall of Fame and Hall of Fame voting. And so I said to him, hey,
so what you're saying, he agrees with you on Jack Morris.
He does. Yeah, of course he does. And so I said to him at the National, hey, why don't we do a show together where we just talk about random things like Hall of Fame voting, and maybe I take one Hall of Famer and try to convince you that they're not, or I take one non-Hall of Famer and try to convince you that they should be, and vice versa. Or we talk about what's our favorite junk wax set, stuff like that. We'll just mix it up every time. And he said, yeah, that sounds great. So we just had our first episode at the end of August. And so when this episode comes out, our second episode will have been released. We're rotating channels. So the first one was on his channel. The second one was on mine. And they're every 2 weeks, usually released on Mondays. And it's meant to be fun. And hopefully nobody takes our Hall of Fame opinions too seriously, because as we know, people treat them like politics.
Yeah, it is funny. I know I talked with Heavy J about Steve Garvey. We both kind of think he should be. And there was people who were very animated to like, you guys are both crazy and both wrong. It's funny. People get like politics and politics and Hall of Fame debates seem to really get people's blood moving, and in some cases boiling, and it's funny. And it's kind of like, I like shows like that, right, Mike? Right, kind of a little script, but not too much script, right? It's kind of what me and Danny try to do with card matches, and just laugh at each other, make people laugh, have fun, and sort of fly by the seat of our pants. And, when you do shows where you kind of have sort of a format, sometimes it's kind of nice to do one where you sort of don't, and you can kind of just go off script, and who knows where it goes. Like we can start out with this is going to be kind of the topic, and then we finish somewhere else, and that's always fun. And when you do it, obviously with someone that you enjoy conversating with, and maybe think similarly, I think it adds to that enjoyment. And like you said, while we do content that other people enjoy, right, we got to have fun ourselves too. Because if you're not, it becomes a job. And I can tell you, my real job pays more than this one. So, thankfully, I have fun at that one too. I'm blessed to be in a career, now 2 years since a change that, working with kids in the school setting that really is right up my alley. So, but you gotta, whatever you do, right? If you're having a little fun, you gotta reassess what you do. And even in collecting, I always said, like, sometimes I'll get messages, John, like, I'm kind of bored with collecting. I'm thinking about maybe getting out of either getting out of the hobby or kind of just putting my stuff away and not really being active. And I never tell someone like to leave. That's like the last resort. But I'll just say, hey, do you ever think of, my response to that when I get those messages is, hey, do you ever think of doing something else that maybe you've thought of before and you just didn't do it? And like you said, when you even at the you saw a whole table with Japanese baseball cards, right? Maybe that's an interest, right? I don't want to speak, or maybe that lights the light bulb on to something else you were, thinking. And so I always respond when I get those messages. I've heard other content creators like, hey, if you're not having fun, get out of here. And I'm not saying they're completely wrong, but before I say get out of here, let's explore other angles. Maybe you can still try something different, and it reignites a different passion, a different hobby passion. If you've tried everything and it's more angst than fun, then, at that point, I won't tell you what to do, but you probably have to make that decision for yourself. And if that's either taking a pause or selling your stuff and riding off into the blue yonder, I leave that up to them. I'll never tell somebody to, get lost or get out of the hobby. It's just too easy to do. And that's something, if they're going to do it, then I don't want them to do it because I told them they should do it. That's
Absolutely.
That'll be their decision. All right, we're coming down the home stretch. You're in the process of writing a book. Kind of talk about, is it as difficult as you imagine? Is it not as difficult as you imagine? Some of the hiccups, where you are in the process, how close is it to completion? Anything you want to share along the book, being an author?
Yeah, so I talked a little bit about my Attic Find Friday series, and I thought, man, this would be awesome if I just compiled all the best ones into a book. And what I've done is not just tell the stories of the Attic Finds, but kind of what was happening in the era, not only of the card, but also when the find happened. So, for instance, spoiler, there's going to be a Mr. Mint chapter in there, or two. And so I talk a little bit about who Mr. Mint was, what's the importance of the 1952 set, what was happening in the hobby in the mid 1980s, and also the cards themselves, of course, and the story behind the find. I have the book just about done, and I had a hiccup with some photo rights that I was requesting from somebody, and I lost momentum. I lost motivation over this, and so I haven't done anything in it for quite a few weeks now, which is frustrating. But yesterday I was out mowing the lawn, and I wasn't listening to any music while I mowed the lawn. I do my best thinking when mowing the lawn, which is weird, I know. And I got myself all pumped up to get back into it yesterday. So hopefully that translates to some good work, getting it polished up and published very, very soon, which I'm excited about. I've got to make some edits, and I've got to add another 4 or 5 chapters, but hopefully we'll have that out there soon.
That hiccup you mentioned with photo rights, is that something you think will be resolved, or will be a situation where, you know what, I just won't be able to use that particular photo and we'll just do the best, with the ingredients we got type of deal?
great question. I have changed my photo strategy because of it. I have said I'm just not going to use anything but photos of cards for this. So, except in a very small number of photographs that I received permission from the original source. But I had a large source of photos tell me no.
Okay. Well, I like photos, but the written word is, if that's interesting, like you said, you can kind of work around that. Put pictures of the cards, which are I'm assuming public domain and that sort of thing. Close enough, was writing a book something you like always sort of wanted to do, or did it just kind of, with the attic finds, did it just kind of dawn on you then? Like, where, was it an ambition of yours as a younger version of yours?
Yeah, I've always been a writer, and I've written a couple of novels that I just never did anything with because I never had any confidence in my fiction writing, but I was always a good nonfiction writer. And so this gave me the perfect opportunity to share that, and hopefully other people agree, and it's not just my opinion. So we'll see.
That, and then maybe you'll go back to those after publishing this, you can always go back to those fiction works and maybe, release them then, or make a few changes you deem necessary and get those out there, so you never know. Know. Well, Mike, I'm glad to finally have you on. Again, I appreciate your time. Look forward. You said the book's quote, in sort of that home stretch. So hopefully myself and others will see that soon. Continued success with the new show with Chris. And speaking of that, give out, as I let every guest do at the end, give out all that information, where they can catch you on YouTube or social medias, anything you want to share.
Yeah, so if you just go to YouTube or to Instagram or Twitter, just search for Junk Wax Hero. I think on Twitter I'm Junk Wax Hero 79. That's my year of birth. Don't confuse me with Junk Wax Heroes, because that's another Twitter user who's much more active and better at Twitter than I am. But I share cards on Instagram, and most of my stuff is on YouTube.
No doubt, awesome stuff, and like you said, you've got the collector frame of mind. That's something you enjoy. I think a lot of people do. I try to mix it all up, but I think, as I always state, whether you're a dealer or not a dealer, we all start as collectors, right? That first pack, usually as a kid, not 100% of the time, but usually as a kid, we've all started as a collector, and then it turned into whatever else it turns into. So that's always something we can point to our roots, no matter what part of the hobby you're in at the moment, and you have to start there. And I think people like to go back to that, and those that still are, even probably more so. So you don't need me to tell you, keep up the good work, and get that book out there and for the masses to see it.
I appreciate it, John. Thanks for having me on. This was a blast.
Same. I feel the same. Thanks, Mike. Good to catch up with Mike C. there. Check out what he's doing on YouTube, his new show. Like I said in the open and in the intro, glad he's part of the Hobby Hotline team and bringing his perspective to that. And like I said, had some fun in Chicago, and look forward to even getting to know him better as time goes on. So again, thanks to Mike C.
For nearly 50 years, Sports Collectors Digest has been the voice of the hobby, bringing you comprehensive coverage of the sports collectible industry. From industry news, auction results, market analysis, and in-depth stories about collectors and their collections, Sports Collectors Digest has everything you need to know about the hobby. SCD is also your leading source for listings of sports collectible dealers, card shops, card shows, and the latest from the industry's top companies. To check out all the latest news or to subscribe to the hobby's oldest magazine, visit sportscollectorsdigest.com or call 1-800-829-5561.
Hobby Hotline. is the hobby's only live interactive call-in show. Join some of your favorite hobby personalities every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, and the first Tuesday of each month at 9 p.m. Eastern to discuss the hottest hobby topics. If you miss us live, catch us after the fact on all major podcast platforms. Follow us on socials at Hobby Hotline.
That's a wrap for this week. Huge thanks to you, the listeners out there, because without you, there is no us. If you like the show, we truly appreciate positive reviews. Big ups to our great guests who drive the show and our awesome sponsors who make it all possible. Sports Card Nation will be back next week, but don't forget to catch either Hobby Quick Hits or Card Mentions coming up on Monday. I'll leave you with this. How do we change the world? One random act of kindness at a time. Remember, the hobby is the people.